Hi, I'm Terri Murphy with the dataadvocate.com and here with one of the experts, Saul Klein, the partner with John Riley and myself, to talk about all things real estate, especially the data that now impacts real estate on a high level. And today, one of the biggest concerns and one of the biggest headlines is the lawsuit that has been, let's just say, transformed due to antitrust and some other issues between the National Association of Realtors, the Department of Justice. Saul, you've been around since early in the real estate days, way back before we had the Realtor.com and Realtors Information Network. Tell us about what this lawsuit is and where you think it's going.
So this most recent piece is one step in a number of steps that could have far-reaching effects in the industry. And it's a lawsuit, it's a civil lawsuit, of which there are two of these civil lawsuits, and then there's the big DOJ, FTC, NAR controversy that's been going on for quite a while. But we've got these civil lawsuits, and one of them, Sitzer, we recently got notice that on April 22nd, that particular case received a class action certification where enough parties were deemed to possibly have been injured to where a class action is warranted. And that's big news. So what is this? This is a lawsuit brought against major real estate firms and multiple listing services that is saying there's a clause in the multiple listing service handbook of the National Association of Realtors, which doesn't own an MLS, but helps organize and put together rules to help get errors and omission insurance. But there's a clause, which, by the way, has been evolved over the years to satisfy other previous attempts to satisfy the antitrust laws. But there's a clause that has to do with broker compensation. And what this seller is saying in their lawsuit is that the way MLS is set up, when the seller signs a listing agreement, the seller doesn't really get to say how much the buyer agent gets. The listing agent decides how much the buyer agent gets, and pretty much that goes in there. And if the seller knew that they didn't have to pay the buyer's agent, they might elect not to. And because if they had elected not to, a lot of commissions have probably been paid that never should have had been paid, except for the MLS was structured to say, if you're a member and you put your listing in here, you have to offer compensation to the buyer's agent. And so sellers are saying, look, you made me go into this thing where the buyer's agent automatically gets a piece, and we can't negotiate with the buyer's agent. And so that's antitrust. And that's antitrust going back for like 8 years in this particular case. So here's the big news. Got these two civil lawsuits, and then got the arguments with NAR and the big entities. But you got these civil lawsuits, and for them to progress, it's like one step at a time. First they file a lawsuit, then the other part, NAR tries to get it thrown out. Right? I mean, it goes. So this was the step where the plaintiffs decided that they're going big time. This is like tobacco company big time, right? This is going after. This is it. They're going to the big time. And if you think of the damages just on this case alone, they're like in the billions of dollars. Because
it's almost incalculable because it's so many transactions have happened in the last 8 years, let alone the last 5.
Yeah, so if say they went back and calculated that the amount of overpayment of commission was $10,000 per transaction. So if you have 6 million transactions a year and 10 million times, that's a big number.
That's a
10,000.
Yeah, I wasn't that good at math, but I know it's a lot.
Right? And that's just this one case. And then there's the other case, which is the Moeller case. So you got these two civil cases, both of them trying to get class action, because then what happens is then all the, these big law firms get involved. Then nobody makes any money except the law firms, right? You've got these things. If you bought stock during this period of time and read all this small print, fill it out, send it in, and then you could earn 3 cents. Who makes all the money? There's all these attorneys, right? That put these, but this is a big deal. And there's enough in, somebody should actually calculate theoretically both the high side of damages, but I think it's a substantial number and can cause financial damage. And so, but here's the thing, we always ask this question: what's currently possible? And if it were impossible, it would fundamentally change the way you do business. Well, what's currently possible today is if you sell real estate, you don't have to worry about your commission if you're a member of the MLS, because the MLS automatically, although it doesn't say how much, it automatically carves a piece out. So you automatically get paid. And so people trust that. They don't have buyer's contracts. They don't get buyer's contracts signed because they know that they don't need to get a buyer's contract signed to get paid, because the MLS carves that out. But what we're seeing is an accusation that that's a violation of the antitrust laws, and that they're going to go after that. These cases is now going to be class action. Everybody who's bought a property or sold a property during this period of time, and it's in the actual suit itself that we just put up the other day on the Data Advocate. It's big news, because what you could do is you could depend on the MLS as an offer of compensation. What if you can't? And don't you want to get ahead of the change? I mean, if we know that the real estate industry is changing, and when the offer of compensation is not going to be an automatic, it's not going to be in the MLS, and that's a possibility, then what would you do if you were selling real estate to guarantee that when you show a property, you get paid?
You'd have to have a separate agreement.
Yeah, well, don't you think it'd be the best time to think of that's before you need it?
Yes. Well, this is fundamentally going to change the way the business has been done traditionally. And who knows what the impact is going to be if it gets settled.
It could settle, but then that means that it's going to change somehow. Right?
Oh, this is a force that's going to change how real estate's been done over the years. And quite frankly, if you look at the history of the industry, it hasn't changed. It has been stagnant in the same kind of structure, shall I say? Well, for a long, long time, because I've been in the business a long time, so have you. And so what that means is that brokerages are going to have to change, arrangements are going to have to change. It's almost hard to get your brain around how many changes there are going to be. What do you think is going to happen, though, in the next, say, year, maybe 2 years with these lawsuits?
Well, these things take a long time, right? This is like 3 years coming. But at this class actions, there'll be a response to that, right? There'll be an appeal of that. So that'll take some time. So, we're talking 2-3 years before you get very much movement at all. So, was it Wayne Gretzky said, you don't skate to the puck, you skate to where the puck's going to be. So if I'm selling real estate, I got to start looking and anticipating that some of the things that have been a staple in the way we do business are going to change.
If you could give, because you are an expert at this, if you could give your oversight or just your opinion on what I could do right now if I was listening to this as a broker owner, as a team leader, as an actual practitioner in real estate, would you say it's about the relationships? What would you give as an advice or recommendation that we could do right now to head off issues that might happen in the next 36 months?
Well, in this particular case, and changes in the MLS, paradigm shifting changes in the MLS, I would say learn how to use a buyer broker contract. Know that there's a difference between an agency disclosure contract and a buyer broker agreement. We used to call them exclusive authorization to locate property form. Figure out that the benefit really is in being a consultant, that this is changing from a sales business to more of a consulting business. And look at that, learn how to use it, because if in fact that offer of compensation goes away, how are you going to guarantee compensation for yourself? It's going to have to come in some type of contract. Know about it ahead of time. Start using it now if you can. Use the agency disclosure as a step to get a buyer broker contract. Even before the current paradigm changes, use that as a differentiator. Remember, one of the ways to build trust and confidence in a sales relationship is to demonstrate expertise. And so I want to say to people here, and here's what's happening in the industry, and here's the latest in the lawsuits, and here's how it affects you as a consumer, and here's how it affects the compensation that you pay in a real estate transaction. And the way that our company does it is we use
X. Yeah, which is going to bring us to another interview. I'd like to talk about it another time about how the data is impacting helping people from an expertise level that is currently unavailable to most agents today. So, Saul, do you have any closing comments on this antitrust thing besides cover yourself with a good agreement?
Yeah, I'd say start to learn how to use. And we know that people have been advising in the industry buyer broker agreements for the last 25 years or so. And we don't see that much adoption of it yet to this day. I think that people need to be prepared for that for a number of reasons. One being these legal cases, just another being the nature of the business itself and how it's changing and how we're squeezing more and more out of the transaction, right? Fewer and fewer people required to get the same amount of work done. All the new technologies that are kind of working their way into the industry, it's a changing time. And there's lots going on that it's moving a lot faster than it used to, or we're moving a lot slower than we used to.
Yeah, one of the two. So just to wind this one up, I want to thank Saul Klein for his insights, his valuable insights into what's going on right now with the Department of Justice and the real estate industry. Most importantly, be an expert, get those relationships down, create trust and confidence, be a resource, and so you can stay in the business and give great customer service. I'm Terri Murphy for The Data Advocate. Join us again for another segment on thedataadvocate.com.